We need to get those people warm and fed.
At least we don't need to worry about Pinkertons tailing us in this.
Let's face it, being an outlaw is an expensive business. There's hair pomade to purchase, a whole world of exciting fashions to indulge in, bounties to pay off, and, of course, replacement horses to buy because your last one got its face caved in by a passing train.
Really? Oh my god. What? What do you mean? What do you mean he died? What?
With all these demands on your wallet, you might be struggling to keep Arthur Morgan's finances looking healthy. So to help you stay in the black, here's a guide to the best ways to make money in Red Dead Redemption 2 and, more importantly, how to hang on to that cash. The first way to make money in Red Dead Redemption 2 is by doing story quests. It sounds obvious, but then when you're scrabbling around trying to pull together enough cash for a new horse, following the main storyline isn't always the first thing that jumps to mind. While a number of the story missions are just that, small advancements to the game's plot, every now and then Dutch van der Linde's gang will pull off a big score, meaning even after the take has been divided between the people involved and the gang has taken its share, you can find yourself getting a pretty sizable payout. In one or two instances, you can land a couple of $1,000s in one go. There's no way of telling in advance which story missions will result in a big payout, of course, but chaining a few of them back to back is often all you need in order to get a quick financial top-up. More reliably lucrative than story missions, mind you, are the incidental jobs you can do with certain members of the gang. These opportunities come and go, but are almost always worth pouncing on, so it's a good idea to keep an ear out in the camp and to check the minimap for any gang members who are showing up as a white circle. These missions tend to be activities like robbing stagecoaches, and in terms of the effort required versus the possible payout, they're some of the most lucrative jobs you can undertake in all of Red Dead Redemption 2. They're also a nice way to get to know some of the camp members a little better while you line your pockets. Win-win if you ask me. Of course, if you want to rob a stagecoach, you don't necessarily have to wait to be invited by one of the other gang members. You can go do it yourself at any time, should the urge to play at being a highwayman suddenly take you. You can hold up pretty much anybody on the roads and streets of Red Dead Redemption 2, just hit triangle to politely inform them they're being robbed, and you can take it from there. The potential take from these impromptu robberies is pretty variable, unfortunately, and you may end up having to rob quite a few people before you actually accumulate a decent sum. Stagecoaches are a bit more profitable, mind you, not just because there are often multiple people to rob, but because you can actually steal the carriage itself and sell it to a fence for some quick and easy money. So while the risk of getting into a gunfight or drawing the long arm of the law down on yourself is pretty real, holding up those random passers-by can nonetheless offer up some pretty good loot in terms of petty cash and shiny valuables. What's more, you ride your horse about the place so much in Red Dead Redemption 2 that, well, with this many passers-by passing you by, you may as well stick a few of them up on your way, right? Just don't expect it to do wonders for your honour rating. Talking of your honour rating, you probably know this, but having a good reputation is enough to get you some pretty hefty discounts in stores. So, while it is fun to play Arthur Morgan as a ruthless ne'er-do-well who'd kill you just as soon as look at you, there is a pretty strong incentive to be a good guy as you roam about the place. I mean, if you're getting 50% off your purchases just because the store owner likes you, you're effectively making your money go twice as far, so earn those good honour points while you can. You can earn them by helping random passers-by in the world whenever they're in need, but you can also improve your honour rating by doing chores around the camp. Stuff like feeding the horses, fetching water, or chopping firewood. Donating food or supplies to the camp will also help top up your rating, so if you still want to play Arthur as a big old meanie, you can still earn yourself a good reputation and a hefty discount by helping look after the band of misfits you run with. This is, of course, more of a cumulative effect than something you can just run out and do, like robbing a stagecoach, but in the long run, it'll absolutely pay off. Or pay out, if you prefer. As a little known extra, if you kill rats in the town, you get honour that way as well. Weird. Anyway, that's enough about being honourable for now. I believe we were talking about robberies. See, the problem with sticking up the people you pass on the road is that they come in dribs and drabs. Robbing the odd person here or there will eventually add up to a tidy pay packet, but it's piecemeal work at best. This is where train robberies come in. Now, you'll want to pick your train carefully because, as Team Eurogamer discovered pretty recently, you won't get much money from robbing a freight train, and with guards to contend with, you might well end up with a bounty several times in excess of the money you managed to pilfer from the train itself. Instead, you're much better off getting on a passenger train and shaking down all the hapless people on board for their cash. It's a much more time-consuming affair, but if you're thorough, then you can get quite a bit out of the passengers as you work your way through the carriages. Just be aware that, with this kind of robbery taking a good deal longer than other crimes, you're almost certainly going to get into a fight with the train guards and any lawmen that come looking for you. The same thing goes for robbing stores in towns. While the take can be decent enough, the odds of alerting the local law enforcement are pretty high, mostly because it's very easy for people to witness the robbery in progress through the windows, and from there they never have very far to go to sound the alarm. If you can get away without generating an obscene bounty, you should be fine, and we'll get on to how you can minimise those in just a minute. Now, this being Red Dead Redemption 2, you are going to end up shooting somebody dead at some point, or more likely, whole scores of people, realistically. Now, if you aren't already doing it, it's a good idea to get in the habit of looting corpses as you go. Story missions almost always give you the chance to do it at some point after the big dust up, and given it only takes a few seconds to loot each one, it's an easy way of making a quick buck. Now, admittedly, the sums of money these people have on them don't tend to be astronomical, it's more of an every little helps kind of deal, but it has to be said that bounty hunters are a pretty notable exception. In my experience, these men tend to be carrying somewhere in the region of $20 a piece on them. So, while they can make life a little tedious by turning up at the least convenient moment, they do at least pay up for the inconvenience once you've made them pay with their lives. Now, you'll have noticed that, being an outlaw, most of the ways by which you make money in Red Dead Redemption 2 are spectacularly illegal, and where there's crime, there are bounties. Now, if you're not careful, those bounties can easily snowball into vast sums of money, which can lead to towns and cities locking themselves down for a few days, or, worse, a near constant stream of bounty hunters hot on your tail. With these things combined, careless skullduggery can have a very serious impact on your finances. Now, you're almost certainly going to end up wanted at some point during your time with RDR2, but here are a few tips you can follow to make sure you keep those bounties small and keep that cash in your wallet. First, and most importantly, deal with your witnesses. When somebody sees you committing a crime, they'll show up as a red eyeball on the minimap. If you catch up with these people, you can threaten, persuade, or straight up murder them in order to make sure they keep their mouths shut. This is the most direct way to ensure you don't end up with a price on your head, and while it's not always possible to chase a witness down, it's nonetheless very important, and you should do it whenever possible. Of course, you can minimise the chance of there being any witnesses in the first place by making sure you commit your acts of skullduggery in remote locations. If you're playing at being a highwayman, for example, setting yourself up a good distance from the nearest town will ensure you have as much time as possible to stop a witness before they can tell on you, or, better yet, there won't even be a witness to begin with. No witness, no crime, except for the very real crime you just committed, but we'll move past that. Bounties can also be kept to a minimum by ensuring you aren't recognised. Change your clothes, use a stolen horse, stick a bandana on your face, anything to make sure nobody realises it's you. I'll be perfectly honest, I'm rubbish at this particular one. I never remember to put the bandana on my face, and that is why I am often a very wanted man. If you do end up with a bounty though, while it will cost you money, you should really try and pay it off as early as possible. It's a pain, but the financial hit is worth it in the long run, as bounties can snowball pretty quickly if you aren't careful, and once the price on your head reaches a certain level, those annoying bounty hunters just keep coming. Which leads neatly into the next tip for making sure you aren't hemorrhaging money all the time: do your very best not to die. Or, if you do die, don't do it again. See, if you die in Red Dead Redemption 2, you lose 5% of the cash on you, but the game also starts a clock. For the next 60 minutes, each time you die, you lose a higher percentage of your cash. 7% for the second death, 10 for the third, 13 for the fourth, 15 for the fifth, and 20% for every death after that, until that initial hour is up, of course. So if you're taking on a tough challenge, or just playing recklessly, then you can really very quickly whittle your cash down to almost nothing. It sounds obvious to say try not to die to somebody when they're playing a video game, but it really is one of the best ways to make sure you hold on to your cash. It's worth noting that valuables aren't lost when you die, however, only cash, so it might be an idea to hang on to all of those pocket watches and belt buckles you've been looting until you reach a point where you need a quick cash injection. Then it's just a matter of visiting a fence and flogging your ill-gotten goods. Of course, if you're looking for more legal, less murdery ways to make money in Red Dead Redemption 2, you could always try gambling or treasure hunting. Playing poker is a good way of scoring yourself some quick cash, if you're good enough, that is. You can also procure the odd treasure map from certain strangers you'll meet in the wild. While these involve a fair bit more legwork, they pay handsomely and they're pretty fun to try and figure out. And that about does it, a quick guide to making and keeping money in Red Dead Redemption 2. If you have any tips of your own, feel free to share them in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, we have loads more on Red Dead Redemption 2 for you to check out, so do give one of those a click. Do like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you don't miss anything else from Eurogamer, but most importantly, thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day.